Judging by the fact that there is such a number of wires, there was some kind of command post. Because there was a connection with the artillery battery, there was exactly a self-propelled battery nearby. There was an armored personnel carrier, and of course, they worked in the northern Saltivka district.
Cap shows us the former command base of one of the units of the Russian army, which the Russian military placed in the school building when they captured one of the villages in the Kharkiv region. Now only scattered uniforms, stolen civilian items, a pile of rubbish and portraits of Soviet leaders are reminiscent of the Russian military here.
I think the guys from the Ukrainian armed forces have already been here, because the first time when we came here, this garbage was hanging in a place of honor. Proletariat of all countries. They still have a Soviet Union in their heads. Here they have it. It's probably their idol. Thanks for Gogol, but Lenin.
Cap himself, during Peaceful Life Victor, is a professional rugby player at the European level. And before the beginning of the full-scale Russia's invasion of Ukraine, he did not even once hold a machine gun in his hands. But the lack of combat experience did not prevent him, as well as many other non-professional soldiers, Ukrainians, athletes, musicians and artists, from standing up for the defense of their homeland. In the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine, the Antalya group is fighting against the Russian invaders, the frontman of the Tinsonsia group, Serhiy Vasylyuk, and the frontman of the Boombox group, Andriy Hlivnyuk, who was wounded in early March as a result of mortar shelling by the Russians.
Before the full-scale war, I was a happy father and I played rugby. I don't even know for how many years. I was engaged in my favorite work, related to yachts and boats. It never gets boring. I was the captain of two teams, once for 3 years and the last time was before the war. The next year, after the foundation of another team, I was elected as captain. I became the captain and I think that I am still the captain of the rugby team. Not all our players are here now.
On the day of the start of the full-scale Russian-Ukrainian war, Cap was at a training camp in the Zakarpattia region, but when Russian rockets began to hit peaceful Ukrainian cities, Viktor immediately decided to go to the military recruitment office and go to war as a volunteer, together with his teammates.
I was just driving and I begged the guys to wait because they wanted to go on the 24th of February. I didn't have time because it took almost a day to drive from Zakarpattia. I drove for 15 hours. There were such traffic jams. And I begged them, guys, wait, let's go together. They were all already prepared. They all came. They just waited for me for a day. We already received weapons on February 25. I was the last to run in the last wagon, and they waited for me. This decision was somehow not discussed altogether.
Together with Viktor, his friend, and another rugby player, Alexei, with the call sign Walrus, serves on the front line.
I have a walrus call sign, but the first call sign he gave me 20 years ago was balalaika, because I was kind of like I didn't know what to take hold of. He took me under his wing. He is older than me by many years, and when I started to play rugby, he was already playing for years, and I looked at them. For me, they were legends. When I started training and got into their team, I got into their family. When you have been involved in sports for 20 years, especially professional, you have a good physical condition. For example, carrying this bulletproof vest is very difficult when it weighs 30 kilograms along with ammunition. When you are also carrying a LAV next generation light anti-tank weapon behind you, which weighs 13 kilograms, thanks to rugby for carrying Victor on my back.
Alexei has combat experience. Back in 2014-2015, when Russia launched a hybrid war in Donbass, he went to defend his country. In 2022, history repeated itself. Having a highly paid job as a manager, Walrus again took up arms and together with friends went to defend Kyiv from the Russian army.
In the morning, explosions began in the city. For everyone, it was a shock. But for me, it was a new challenge. We had to return to the war. It was not easy. When you were in the war for the first time, you saw it all. It was very hard. You don't want to die when your enemy is already near your home in Kiev. It was a quick decision.
After the liberation of the Kiev region, the guys continued their service in another dangerous and hard direction of the front line of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Kharkiv.
This village is controlled by Ukraine, it's our. The name is possible later, now we can't say. It's about 2 kilometers from this place to the conventional front line, maybe 2.5. In the last 3 days, until our tanks helped us, the Russians gained out the city and climbed to the edge of the village. And from our observation point to what we discovered by aerial reconnaissance to their secret observation point, I don't know, it was like 4.5 meters. We couldn't get them with a gas grenade launcher. There was no point in using a grenade launcher in the bushes, but artillery destroyed them.
According to the serviceman, the Russian army does not care what to shell. Having superiority in artillery, they simply destroy all the living things.
There was 152 caliber artillery because it was very heavy, and we observed how Grad multiple launch rocket systems just destroyed villages with such squares. Half a cartridge is 20 rockets. It destroys a square about 2 football fields.
But even despite the shelling and the superiority of the enemy in the number of shells, the Ukrainian army is ready to fight to the end. After all, they know that their families, relatives, friends, and the entire Ukrainian people are behind them.
We will remember this later in a peaceful life. We have already passed south of Kiev and already here near Kharkiv.
Reported by Marina Stepanenko, Anastasia Zhuk, UATV News.